Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're diving into the world of new technologies and ELT today.
Sounds exciting.
It is. We'll be dissecting a chapter from an academic book.
Okay.
It's packed with insights for new TESOL teachers, especially those about to start their practicum.
Yeah, that's a great time to be thinking about this.
Yeah, for sure.
Because technology is like reshaping what it even means to be proficient in a language these days.
Okay, so right off the bat, we're not talking about just like using computers as flashcards.
Right. We've moved way beyond that computers as tutors model.
Gotcha.
It's much more about an integrated approach called blended learning.
Blended learning.
Yeah, have you heard of that?
I have.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of our listeners who are newer to the field
Yeah.
might not have a really solid grasp.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So what is blended learning?
At its core, it's intentionally merging technology and face-to-face teaching.
So the teacher isn't being replaced by a robot.
Definitely not.
That's a relief.
But it's about finding that sweet spot where tech and teaching work together.
Seamlessly.
Yes. It's like technology is disappearing into the background, becoming just part of how we learn.
Like how we don't even think about using our smartphones anymore. They're just there.
Exactly. And that's where we're heading with technology and ELT.
I see. So it's not a novelty anymore. It's like a necessity.
Exactly.
So that's got to have a huge impact on like everything.
Yeah.
How we teach, how students learn.
Assessment, too.
Right. Everything.
Everything changes.
How do we even begin to approach that as teachers, especially new teachers?
Well, our source material actually has a really good framework for this.
Okay. And who are the authors again?
This is from Gruba and Hinkelman.
Okay.
And they argue for technology use in ELT that is purposeful, sustainable, and multimodal.
Yeah, lots of buzzwords there.
I know, right?
Let's break those down a little.
Sure. So purposeful means we're not just using tech for the sake of using tech.
Right.
It has to genuinely add value to the learning. Sustainable? That's huge, especially for new teachers.
Why especially new teachers?
Well, you're just starting out. You're figuring out your teaching style, your workload. So the technology you use has to be realistic, something you can actually manage long term.
Not something that's going to burn you out in the first semester.
Exactly. And then multimodal.
Okay, that one always trips me up a bit.
It just means going beyond text, incorporating visuals, audio, all sorts of different ways of communicating.
So like pictures, videos, podcasts even.
Yes, all of that.
That's a lot to think about.
It is, but it's also really exciting.
I think one of the things I'm most excited about with technology is how it's challenging the traditional roles in the classroom.
Totally. It's not about the teacher standing at the front and lecturing anymore.
Right. Students can access information from anywhere.
They have the world at their fingertips.
Literally on their phones.
Exactly. So the teacher's role is shifting.
How so?
Less about being the sole source of knowledge and more about being a facilitator, a guide.
Like a coach almost.
Yeah, a learning coach, a digital literacy coach.
I like that.
It's about preparing students for a world where they're constantly learning and evaluating information, most of which is going to come from digital sources.
That's so key because just knowing how to use a computer isn't enough anymore.
Right.
It's about critical thinking, research skills, really being able to navigate the online world.
It all falls under this umbrella of new literacies.
New literacies. What exactly does that mean?
It's acknowledging that being literate in the 21st century isn't just about reading and writing text. It's about navigating online information, understanding, and creating multimedia content.
Right, like we were saying before.
Exactly.
The whole new set of skills.
And it even changes how we think about language proficiency.
Okay, I was just going to ask about that.
Our source material actually mentions this idea of multimodal communicative competence.
Multimodal communicative competence.
Yeah, it's a mouthful, I know.
But it sounds important.
It is. It's basically saying it's not enough to be proficient in just one mode of communication anymore.
Like just writing or just speaking.
Right.
So students need to be able to like switch between different modes.
Exactly. They need to understand and create meaning using text, images, audio, video, the whole works.
So that makes me think about assessment.
Good point.
If language proficiency is changing, how do we measure that?
Yeah, our traditional pen and paper tests might not cut it anymore.
So what do? Invent whole new types of tests.
We need to think about more authentic assessments. Assessments that reflect how language is actually used in the real world.
So things like what?
Instead of just a written essay, maybe students create a video presentation or a podcast or even design a website.
I love that. It's about making assessment more relevant, more engaging.
Exactly. And the source material actually gives us a really practical framework for thinking about how to do that.
Okay, tell me more about this framework.
It's called the 5 key dimensions of blended learning, and I think it'll be super helpful as you start planning for your practicum.
All right, I'm all ears.
Okay, so the first dimension is called actions.
Actions sounds active.
It is. It's all about the different types of activities you can incorporate into a blended lesson.
Give me some examples.
Well, there are 5 main categories. The first is narrative actions.
Narrative actions.
That's about presenting information, like a mini lecture, a video clip.
Even like a podcast episode.
Exactly.
Right.
Then we have interactive actions.
Okay, those sound fun.
They're all about getting students engaged with the content. So think discussions, polls, online Q&A sessions.
So far, so good. I can already picture how I could use those.
Then we have adaptive actions. These allow students to personalize their learning.
Ooh, I like that.
So think about things like role-playing scenarios, interactive games, or even online quizzes that adjust to their level.
Very cool.
Next up is communicative actions, and these focus on authentic communication tasks.
Like
Like a group project where they're collaborating on a presentation or a simulated online discussion forum.
So it's about using the language for a real purpose.
Exactly. And finally, we have productive actions.
Productive actions.
These are all about getting students to create and share their work.
So what, like writing assignments?
Yeah, but think beyond that, too.
Okay.
Videos, podcasts, designing websites, even things like composing music or creating artwork.
Wow, so it's about using language to create something new.
Yes.
I love that.
So as a teacher, it's about choosing the right mix of these actions.
To create a balanced learning experience.
Exactly. And that's where your creativity comes in, understanding your students and your teaching style.
This is actually really empowering for new teachers.
It should be. It's not about following a rigid formula.
Right.
It's about making choices that are right for you and your students.
I like that a lot.
And the next dimension builds on that idea of choice, too.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What's the next dimension?
It's called groupings, and it's all about how technology impacts how we organize students in the classroom.
All right, groupings, let's dive in. All right, groupings, let's dive in.
So think about it. Technology lets you move between individual work, pair work, group work like that.
Seamlessly.
Yeah. 1 minute, they're collaborating on a Google Doc.
Uh-huh.
The next, they're giving each other feedback online.
And then maybe even like a virtual discussion with students from all over.
Exactly.
So many possibilities.
It really creates this dynamic learning environment.
And as a pre-service teacher, I love that flexibility, being able to switch things up on the fly.
Oh, absolutely. And tech makes that so much easier than it used to be.
No more just rows of desks.
Right. You can really tailor the groupings to the activity.
Okay, so we've covered actions and groupings. What's next?
Timings. And this one gets really interesting with blended learning.
Okay, timings. I'm intrigued. How does tech affect when learning happens?
Well, with technology, learning isn't limited to the classroom schedule anymore.
Oh, right, because students can access things online.
Exactly. You can have synchronous activities.
Synchronous meaning?
Everyone's participating at the same time.
Okay.
Like a live online discussion.
Gotcha.
But you can also have asynchronous activities.
Asynchronous.
Where students work at their own pace.
Like watching a pre-recorded video lesson or...
Yeah. Or doing an online quiz whenever it fits into their schedule.
This seems like such a game changer for new teachers.
It really is. You can give students materials they can access anytime, anywhere.
And like you were saying before about sustainability?
Yeah.
This seems like it would help with managing your workload too.
Absolutely. It's all about finding that balance, right?
Right. And it makes learning fit into students' lives so much better.
It's not about cramming everything into a 50-minute class period anymore.
No, it's about creating a learning experience that's flexible.
And that brings us to the next dimension, texts.
Texts. Okay, so we're not just talking about textbooks anymore, are we?
Not at all. In blended learning, texts can be anything.
Like what?
Videos, audio recordings, images, infographics, you name it.
Even social media posts could be considered texts.
Absolutely. It's all about recognizing that communication happens in so many ways now.
And those are all things our students are interacting with every day.
Exactly. So it's your job as a teacher to expose them to that variety.
To help them understand different types of media.
And to help them create those different types of media, too.
So it's like we're expanding the definition of literacy.
We are. It's not just about reading and writing anymore.
Right. Visual literacy, digital literacy, media literacy, it's all connected.
It's all essential for the 21st century.
Okay, so we've got actions, groupings, timings, and texts.
Yeah.
What's the last dimension?
The final dimension is tools, and this is all about the actual devices and software we use.
Ah, the tech stuff.
Yeah. Computers, tablets, smartphones, online platforms, apps, all of that.
So tools is pretty straightforward then.
Yeah, it is. But the thing is, the range of tools available is always growing.
That's true. It can be a little overwhelming.
It definitely can be.
But it's also exciting, right? Like having so many options.
Exactly. It's like having a giant toolbox.
But you have to know which tool to use for which job.
You got it. And that's where professional development comes in.
Ah, so it's not just about knowing what the tools are.
No.
It's about learning how to use them effectively.
Exactly. And how to choose the right tools for your students, for your teaching style.
And that learning process never really ends, does it?
Nope. Especially with technology, things change so fast.
You're always learning new things.
And adapting.
Okay, so speaking of adapting, let's talk about a specific approach to teaching that's becoming really popular. The flipped classroom.
All right. The flipped classroom.
I feel like I've heard that term a lot, but I'm not sure I fully get it.
It's basically flipping the traditional model of instruction on its head.
Meaning?
Instead of spending class time on lectures, students engage with content beforehand.
Like at home?
Yeah. Usually through videos, readings, online activities.
So class time becomes more about actually applying what they've learned.
Exactly. More hands-on activities, discussions, working collaboratively.
And the teacher can give more individual support.
Exactly. So imagine this.
Okay.
You create a short video explaining a grammar concept.
Uh-huh.
Students watch it before class, so when they come in, they're ready to practice, to discuss, to really dig deeper.
That makes so much more sense than trying to do all of that in one class period.
Doesn't it?
Plus, students can learn at their own pace.
And revisit the material as many times as they need.
That's so helpful.
And research shows it's effective, too. Flipped classrooms can lead to better learning outcomes.
That's impressive. But is this really a new idea?
I mean, assigning pre-class work isn't new.
Right.
But technology is what makes the flipped classrooms so dynamic and interactive these days.
Okay, so it's like taking an old concept and giving it a modern makeover with tech.
Exactly. And as you're planning for your practicum, think about how you might incorporate some elements of the flipped classroom.
I will. But, as inspiring as all this is, I think it's important to acknowledge that integrating technology isn't always easy.
You're right. It comes with challenges.
What are some of the hurdles new teachers might face?
Well, for one, not all teachers are comfortable with technology.
That's true. Some might be resistant to change.
Or worried about losing control in a more tech-driven classroom.
Yeah, I can see how that would be intimidating.
It's a big shift. But the good news is there's a lot of support out there.
Like what?
Well, there's the TESOL Technology Standards Framework.
What's that?
It's basically a roadmap for integrating tech into your teaching effectively.
So it can help me make sense of all the options out there.
Exactly. It can guide you in choosing the right tools and approaches for your students.
That's reassuring.
And don't forget about the challenges your students might face.
Right. Not everyone has equal access to technology.
That's a huge issue. The digital divide is real.
And we need to be sensitive to that as teachers.
Absolutely. But technology can also be a tool for differentiation.
How so?
You can use online resources, adaptive learning platforms, even assistive technology to make learning more inclusive.
So it's not about letting technology create more barriers.
No.
It's about using it to break down barriers.
Exactly. And when we do that,
What?
the possibilities for language learning become really incredible.
Okay, I'm ready for some optimism.
All right. What trends should new teachers like you be keeping an eye on?
Tell me everything.
Our source material actually points to a great resource for this.
Oh, what is it?
The Horizon Report.
Okay.
They do a fantastic job of predicting future trends in educational technology.
Cool. And what are some of those trends for ELT?
3 big ones. Gamification, digital gaming, and mobile learning.
Ooh, those all sound fun.
They are. So gamification, that's about incorporating elements of games into your lessons.
Like what?
Points, badges, leaderboards, challenges, things like that.
Like Duolingo.
Exactly. Duolingo is a great example of how gamification can make learning more fun.
And addictive.
Definitely. And then we have digital gaming, which takes things a step further.
Okay, how so?
We're talking about immersive experiences that transport students to virtual worlds.
Whoa, that sounds futuristic.
It kind of is. Imagine a game where students role-play characters in a virtual city using English to interact with each other, solve problems.
That's incredible. So it's not just playing games.
No.
It's learning through games.
Exactly. And studies have shown it can be really effective.
I bet. It sounds so engaging.
It is. And finally, mobile learning.
Ah, yes. Smartphones and tablets everywhere you look.
I know, right?
So how are they impacting ELT?
Think about it. With mobile devices, learning can happen anywhere, anytime.
It's like having a language lab in your pocket.
Exactly. Students can access apps, watch videos, listen to podcasts, even connect with each other for online discussions.
All from their phone.
All from their phone. And that opens up so many possibilities.
Especially for students who might not have a computer or internet at home.
Absolutely. Mobile learning can make education more accessible.
And more convenient for everyone, really.
Exactly. And it's a trend that's only going to continue to grow.
So we, as future teachers, need to be ready to embrace it.
We do. We need to be comfortable using mobile devices in our teaching.
This is all so exciting. It really feels like a whole new era in ELT.
It does, doesn't it?
And we, as new teachers, get to be part of it.
You do. You have the chance to shape the future of language learning.
That's an amazing thought.
It is. But before we wrap up,
Yeah.
the source material mentions something I think is worth discussing.
What's that?
Some ELT professionals are calling for new standards for teaching in a digital world.
Oh, interesting. You mean like updating the TESOL technology standards we talked about before?
Yeah, or maybe even creating a whole new set of standards that reflect the reality of teaching with technology today.
Because things are changing so fast.
Exactly. We need to make sure our standards keep up with those changes, that they're preparing teachers for the challenges and opportunities of a digital classroom.
I bet that's a conversation that's going to continue for a while.
Oh, definitely. And it's a conversation you'll be part of as a new teacher.
That's kind of daunting, but also exciting.
It should be. Your insights and experiences will be valuable as we navigate the future of ELT.
Wow, this deep dive has been a whirlwind.
It has.
I'm feeling inspired, but honestly, a little overwhelmed too.
I get it. It's a lot to take in, especially when you're just starting out.
Right. Like, where do I even begin?
Just remember, you don't have to master everything at once.
That's good to hear.
The key is to stay curious, keep learning.
And focus on the students.
Always. They should be at the heart of every decision you make.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up, what are some key takeaways for our pre-service teachers out there?
Yeah, what should they keep in mind as they head into their practicum and their future careers?
The biggest thing to remember is this. Integrating technology is not just about using gadgets.
Okay.
It's about rethinking what it means to teach, learn, and be proficient in a language.
So it's a mindset shift, not just a toolbox upgrade.
Exactly. It's about embracing the potential of technology to create engaging, effective, and relevant learning experiences.
And that's where we, as future teachers, get to be creative.
You got it. You have the power to shape the future of language learning.
And to help guide us on that journey.
Yeah.
What's that final thought-provoking question from the source material?
It's a question that's really relevant as you start your practicum.
Okay, I'm ready.
How do new technologies, blended learning, and flipped classrooms change the dynamics between teachers and students and among students themselves?
Oh, that's a deep one.
It is. As you're in the classroom, observe how technology influences those interactions.
Like how it changes the relationships.
Exactly. How does it empower students? How does it change your role as a teacher?
That's something I'll definitely be paying attention to.
And remember, you're not alone on this journey.
Right. There's a whole community of educators out there.
Who are passionate about using technology to make a difference.
So don't be afraid to connect, to share your experiences, to learn from each other.
We're all in this together. And that's a wrap on our deep dive into new technologies in ELT.
Thanks for joining us. We hope you're feeling inspired to embrace the power of technology in your own teaching.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep innovating, and keep the passion for language learning alive.